Well, China's launched an official protest with the German embassy in Beijing. That's after Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock criticised Chinese aggression towards Taiwan on Monday after a speech to the UN. She said Germany stands united with the US.
We share American concerns. We have painfully learned over the past months with February 24th that aggressive rhetoric can turn into dangerous action. China's comments with regard to Taiwan raise serious questions. It cannot be in our interest if China is creating, on top of this, excessive economic dependency in its region.
Well, DW correspondent Michaela Kufner was at Annalena Baerbock's speech in New York, and she described what the foreign minister had to say regarding Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan and how those comments came to upset China.
She said that it simply wasn't acceptable in relation to Russia that a bigger state could attack a smaller neighbor, and that international law also applies to China. Now, that didn't go down well. A protest was delivered to the German ambassador in Beijing. And clearly, this just shows the Chinese reflex when there is criticism, although we have learned out of the background here that there is no interest to really make a clear statement, a reaction on that visit. It appears, just like the United States, they want to see this visit speak for itself and not add fuel to the fire, because quite clearly what we are seeing from the Chinese side there is quite a bit of anger over this visit.
Now, the foreign minister also called for strengthening of the transatlantic alliance. What does she mean by those words?
Yes, well, she held a speech on seizing the transatlantic moment. That is a rather nice way of saying of a rediscovery of transatlantic bonds, the reliance on the United States in the light of the Ukraine war. And she there says that China is, of course, a common concern, a more alignment with the US policy on China is what she's hinting at. And that could mean taking a tougher stance, but that could also mean, after the failure to get that transatlantic trade agreement together, that there could be individual steps that could amount to something like a closer trade framework.
The foreign minister also said that Germany had abandoned its long-held belief in the concept of change through trade. What does she mean by that?
This is very interesting, because this is the question that Angela Merkel, the former German chancellor, avoided during those final months of being in office, when she was asked, with the example of China, whether that was proof that this concept had failed. She simply didn't want to answer that very question. Here, Annalena Baerbock is stating that quite clearly, and what she means is having less trade reliance. She cited Ukraine with Germany's, Europe's heavy reliance on Russian gas as a negative example. And in relation to China, that must mean, is her argument, to have less dependence in certain aspects of production, supply lines, not to have to discover that there can't be any certain medicines can no longer be delivered at home because of a high reliance on China. So reducing that, I think there she is very much in line with what America, both under Trump and under Biden, has been calling for a long time. Clearly, the Europeans, the Germans, are rethinking their trade relations to China.
Okay, thank you for that, DW correspondent Michaela Kufner in New York.